All right, we have some new chapters, plural, which is exciting, of Kaguya-sama. The first one is called Senpai-kun and Kohai-chan Part 1. I assume this is referring to... wait, Senpai-kun and Kohai-chan. Never mind. At first I was like, oh, this is the Ishigami plotline with the senpai he likes, because that's kind of who we refer to as senpai most often, I would say. And that's something that I think is kind of like on the precipice of being explored more and resolved, kind of more than some other plot lines that are sort of lurking more. But it's Senpai Kun and Kohai Chan. So who could this be referring to? Ah, these two, I guess. The public morals broken arm girl and the president himself. Ishigami gone today. Just the two of them hanging out, yeah. So I guess this is kind of the premise of our chapter. It's just the two of them. They don't usually spend that much time together, and if they do, it's sort of mediated or buffered by Chikawa or whatever. Oh, I just realized you can't really see what page I'm on because the URL is so long. What's the plan here? Is it changing? Yeah. Page /3. Yeah, okay. Yeah, normally they have a few buffer people around, a few people that serve as the nucleus of their conversation. Talking straight to each other. This is awkward indeed. People that are kind of friends but not really. Oh, we gotta look at another phenomenon. Within the same friend group, there are certain subgroups that don't talk much. For example, a group of 3 friends may have lively conversations on the trade line when all together, but when it's just the 2 of them, they fall silent. Precisely the relationship between Shirogane and Nino. This is so true and so interesting to me. This was also addressed in Seinfeld, where they talk about how Jerry is the nucleus of the group, which is where I got the phrase nucleus. And I think it's like Elaine and George trying to hang out by themselves. They find it awkward until they start making fun of Jerry, thus kind of reintroducing him into the conversation, even though he's not physically there. And although this is a very funny episode and a very funny premise, I gotta call out that it's inconsistent with other episodes of Seinfeld. There's a lot of other instances of Seinfeld where George and Elaine are just hanging out, the 2 of them, and it's implied that they've been, deliberately going to hang out together. Ones where they're like shopping together, well, whatever. So I don't know. But it's so true. I've witnessed this phenomenon firsthand many times as well. The one that I find is really funny, situations where it's like you and a friend and your friend's friend, okay? And you've never met the friend's friend before. The 3 of you are hanging out. And then the friend's friend, the more third-party person, like the person you know least, goes to the bathroom or whatever, is just absent for a bit. And even though you and your friend have hung out, just the 2 of you, many times before, just this absence suddenly causes the conversation to kind of stutter and go awkward, even though like that third person obviously wasn't like necessary. Like, you would expect if the friend leaves, there would be some awkwardness because you've never met this other person before, and suddenly you're hanging out just one-on-one with them. But I also found it's just as debilitating to have the friend of the friend leave. It's just more about the dynamic getting disrupted rather than necessarily being this separation. But of course, this is talking about like a specific instance of people hanging out. This chapter is talking more about long-term friend groups where obviously you know everyone involved, and yet there's still people there that you don't talk to, which is also like a very common phenomenon. I don't know. I'm like a social butterfly, So in my friend groups, I make an effort that if there's people I hang out with a lot, I want to, get to know all of them. I don't want people that are just there at whatever event every week that I don't end up talking to at all, right? So like for me, I haven't really experienced this, but I'm sure if I really thought about it, there probably are other connections within those groups that just have never formed, which is interesting. Okay, let's plunge ahead. Let's see. How will they navigate this one? It's not like we don't get along or anything. There's just nothing really for us to really talk about. What should I do? Go back to my seat? And again, she sat down right in front of me. Going back to my seat now would make things really weird. It might hurt her feelings. Gotta stay here for a bit longer. To do, she looks bored. Check your phone or something. Checking your phone with one arm is kind of annoying, though. No, you don't think so? I don't know. I mean, I can obviously text one-handed. I'm talking on the phone, moshi moshi. But I don't know. Ideally, I want both hands free. And if my arm was broken, it would be, I think, a bit of a pain. Guess taking your phone out when you're talking to someone could be considered bad manners. But that's what she's worried about. It's fine, go check Twitter. Send your friends weird stickers. I'm begging you. Please, Fujiwara, do your thing and show up already. Yes, this is the first time he has ever wished for Fujiwara to barge in and interrupt whatever was happening. But normally, yeah, she'd be right on cue. What will he do? What will he do? Should I just make conversation? What am I get all worked up for? Let's go for it. Okay, ask about your broken arm. That's, I think, a pretty good one. It shows you're being considerate. It's like something, often people who have such injuries do want a chance to complain. You're trying to open the floor and say, if you want to complain about the miserable state of your arm, go nuts. I think that's a nice thing to do. And it makes for good, quick-moving conversation. Oh no, this won't be a problem for my duties. Oh, she doesn't get it. It's like she doesn't also feel this tension. The conversation dies there. One of those situations where the two of you that don't typically make small talk with each other, so any conversation is perceived as work-related. Right. That's right, and that's how she answered. Won't be a problem for my duties. She didn't even consider that the president was just curious about how it was going. It's a reflection of her every day. It's a proof of how I've neglected to build up a relationship with my kohai. Still have invited her to the student council, but honestly, I don't really know how to deal with her. Look at how she treats Ishigami. Yeah, I would be afraid of that too. It's like not even, putting aside how she really feels about Ishigami. The president is weak to that sort of direct scolding and verbal abuse. And I'm sure when he witnesses it directed at Ishigami, especially if it's something where it's like him and Ishigami have been like broing out over a magazine or whatever, and Ishigami gets yelled at, I'm sure it's put chills down his spine. This is no good. It's the president who assembled the student council, and as her senpai, it's my responsibility to take the initiative to build strong relationships. Okay, small talk round 2. Asking about hobbies. A little strained, a little forced. Usually you can kind of segue into an open-ended question like this a little more naturally, I would think. But a valiant effort to be sure. Again, I think making good small talk, especially if you have kind of a vested interest in the small talk going well, but you're not certain that the other person does, it's all about giving them opportunities. Opportunities to complain, opportunities to talk about things that they're interested in, avoid subjects on which people can only speak kind of neutrally, ask them kind of something direct, so it's not like it's on them to try to come up with something. Ask something that you think they'll be able to very fluently come up with an answer for, something you've observed them doing recently. So do you have any hobbies? It has a lot of the right ideas, but I think it's way too wide open. It kind of puts them in a situation where they're like, oh, like, what do I even start with? Like, what comes to mind? Okay, but here's the problem with Ina. Her hobbies are so degenerate and weird. It's all listening to those, like, self-help ASMR Bishonen tapes and having weird romantic fantasies. And her other hobbies are like student council work. So I don't know if this will go well. Making small talk. Oh, okay. I think this is a good strat too. You don't get many chances to talk like this, do you? Just acknowledge the situation. Yeah, I actually really like that. Too often people will try to mask at all costs their intent in kind of a conversation like this. When their intent, even though it might seem, I don't know, depersonal, to say, oh, I think we should get along just for the sake of getting along. At the same time, acknowledging that is shows like honesty and kind of an openness. And given that your goals will likely align in this front, then you can move much more smoothly into the kind of small talk that you're hoping for, right? There's some David Foster Wallace quote I really, really like, where he's talking about people at a party and how everyone at the party just desperately wants people to like them, but is even more desperately trying to make sure that nobody knows just how desperately they want people to like them, but that everyone at the party feels this way. And it feels kind of obvious when you put it that way. People want to be liked. People want to get along, generally speaking. And yet, to acknowledge these things, to actually admit, oh, I'm hoping we can get along, we should have a nice chat, is somehow abhorrent. It somehow seems just beyond the pale of any sort of social graces. Whatever. Okay. Talking about reading. Authors like Kanai, Minato, I don't know them. Haruki Murakami, I know a lot about. I've read like maybe 5 or 6 of his novels. Otsuichi, I don't know at all. Otsuichi has some books called Zoo and Goth, apparently. Let's do a little bit of research here. Kanai Minato. Crime fiction and thrillers. That's not really my forte, so I'm not surprised I haven't heard of it. Sure. There's been some film adaptations and some drama adaptations, but no anime adaptations. So again, far outside my wheelhouse. Wheelhouse. I don't know what a wheelhorse is. Otsuichi. Another horror short stories. Oh, in the same 2 groups as the previous person we just looked at. And I do not know any of these, but some of them have been translated into English. That's cool. Yeah, I haven't heard of any of these. What about anime adaptations? There's been some manga that got adapted, but I haven't heard of them. And some movies that I also haven't heard of. Some of these manga got adaptations, but no anime, so whatever. All right, let's move on. They get a nice chat going. Well, that's nice. It's going surprisingly smoothly. Sounds like you read a lot. House is close to the library. Red Knight on the Galactic Railroad. That's of Kenji Miyazawa's books. Ooh. Talking about poetry anthologies. Cool. She lights up. Not many people who like poetry, so I got a bit excited. Ooh. I dabbled in rap too. Oh, President, please never bring that up again. Never ever bring that up again. Don't talk about you dabbling in rap. Dabbling. Gosh, much too pleasant a word. So I think now we're moving into a really dreaded corner of the kind of space of small talk, right? We have like dimensions of knowledge and interest, and then we have 2 dots representing each party moving about these. Now we want to maximize both dimensions for both parties. That leads to very good conversation. But in a situation where one party has strayed way up into that knowledge and interest high category, and the other party is actually much, much lower on the knowledge axis, and could still be quite far on the interest axis, that gap in knowledge could lead to some awkwardness. I think here again, it's best to be honest, best to own up and say, I actually don't know that much about poetry, but it seems like you're really interested in it. So could you please kind of explain what appeals to you about the poets you like, right? Seems like it should be easy to say, and yet so many people, they try to bluff. They try to regurgitate things they've heard before. They try to just somehow stumble their way through as if their knowledge was as high as the other person. It's hard to not fall into that temptation, I gotta say. That's so. Oh, I read my own poetry. Oh my gosh, oh no. I think this is going to be really, really embarrassing. Really, really bad. Okay. Sparkling star twinkles bright, shooting star who winks at night. Between us eons light years lie, but you and I were born alike. Just like the echo in my heart, your sparkle dims and fades to dark. A shooting star that grants no wish, adrift in midnight, aimless, just like me. A lonely prayer in the Milky Way, where wishes find their graves and lay. The girl lays eyes on twinkling far. Today she wishes on a shooting star. What do you think? Actually, I don't know. It was fine. Applause to Jimini's Box and their translation team for actually making the translation rhyme as well. That's not easy. That actually basically requires you to write some poetry too. Translating poetry, one of the most difficult things. I've read a decent amount about it, specifically in the context of this German poet Paul Celan. Celan? I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Celan. I read a book of his poetry that included a long essay by the translator about how the heck do you translate poetry. It was wonderful. I didn't get any of that. Uh-oh. Now he's really got a bluff. I tried not to laugh, but I couldn't even if I wanted to. No idea what it means, but she's opening her heart up to me right now. I couldn't tell her that I don't understand any of it. Is it not pretty easy to understand? It's like evoking these kind of twinkle twinkle little star type images, the idea of like wishing on a shooting star, and then saying like, but really all these stars are too distant. You can't see them. They fade into dark. How could you possibly wish on a star that is so far away? But then eventually she does see, right? It ends on like a hopeful note, I think. I think that the hopeful note at the end is supposed to be like, but you know, miracles do happen. Eventually she was able to see that shooting star. Maybe, 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 maybe not, maybe, maybe not, maybe not, maybe, I don't know. What was good? What part exactly was good? Actually, isn't it trying to tasteless to put into words? No. Oh, God. Ooh, I like how the descent of the shooting star reflects the transience of the young girl's wishes. I think that's it exactly. In fact, I think that's like even more accurate than what I said. It's not about the shooting star being so far away that you don't even see it. It's about that the shooting star is there only briefly, and that you make this wish on it, but then as the star, well, I mean, it's not a star, it's an asteroid or something falling into the atmosphere. But the actual stars are like millions of light years away, and then it's just this dust, this rock dust that burns up in the atmosphere that you're making a wish on. Interesting interpretation. Seifu desu. People interpret poems really gives insight into human nature. I only think the same as you, so it's a refreshing take. Yeah, the next one. Okay. This one might be even harder. The black stork sings. For the first festival in a century, we sow the seeds of withered cabbage. The black stork flies. Blue smoke rises and falls, while green smoke shrouds the town. The nightmares are gone, and the bell rings on for eternity. Ooh, I like it. I like it. Haunting, weird. Has kind of that medieval distance that you look upon medieval ritual and stuff and think, just what exactly were these lives like back then? These strange ceremonies and adorations of smoke and withering and black birds, so ominous. But what does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean? I don't know. Oh, there's more. When the jet black stork sings, only the ashen rejoice. In this town where no one lives. It's terrifying. This is terrifying. Jet black storks, terrifying. What do you think? What do I think? I'm filled with genuine horror. The way she's reading it with a smile on her face, just the way she did the first poem, which is much more like lovely, is pretty funny too. Good for her though. Really expanding your genre capabilities. What can he possibly say? What can he possibly say to this? Was there no one in the town at the end? Put someone there. It was really. I think it was really good. Feel the darkness in your heart. Wouldn't it be a poem? You're younger, right? You. Oh my God! No! 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 Okay, so the final inversion, of course, will be after her own challenging but good poetry. The president is going to, of course, read something god awful, just incomprehensibly awful. And now the tables will have turned. It is her that will have to figure out how do I navigate this without hurting his feelings. We'll have a good laugh. Oh, never mind. I was hoping that he actually did have some crappy ass poem that he could bust out. Suppose normal people wouldn't. Of course, the only people with their own poetry anthologies are weird, awkward girls like me. Me too. I like writing poetry. I've written some poetry. But I'm probably not going to read it on the channel. I don't know. I'd like to put together like a collection of the poetry I've written that I think is best. It's all scattered like all over the place though, in like notebooks and other things. So yeah, I've written poetry. Sorry for getting swept up and thinking you're into poetry too. Oh no! Just make something up. Oh my God, he's just gonna make something up. Poems. Wait, I do have one from before I wrote it when I was feeling a bit lost. Love letter to Shinomiya. Oh my God. No way can you have a sick for. Oh, but President, be a good senpai. Show her that she's not weird. He's reading it. Ishikami appears, of course, at the worst possible time. I could never finish drinking you up, so I want to stay by your side. I want to be with you always. Until that day when everything disappears. Whoa, she's into it! Oh my God, his face here is so good. A poem about half-chewed gum, right? And Ishigami, of course, I think we'll just like file this one away. He's walked into much more awkward scenes before. It's just like, okay. All right, a really fun chapter. I genuinely liked Ino's poetry. I think there's a lot of potential there. And again, good job, Jimini's Box, for translating poetry. Not an easy time. Yeah, so we have one more chapter to read. It's interesting that this was part 1, and then the next chapter is not part 2. So that's kind of, All right, we'll read that soon. Bye-bye.